Hello, welcome back. Look at this consistency. Just so you know, Amy, I've given the game away already about who our guest is, but just so you know, our keyword this year is consistency and accountability. And that's heavily based off of us being very inconsistent and not taking accountability for being inconsistent about this podcast.
I've worked with you guys before.
Yes, you have, and we'll definitely get into that. But just want to do a little intro for our guest today. So you would have seen it from the title, but it's actually a very special one because it's our first non-producer. I would say non-DJ. She's a very good DJ. I've seen her tear it up on the L1210, so she's a very good DJ.
He's lying.
Let's say DJ. DJ, it's our first like non-DJ, you know, like booked playing. Oh, I've seen you. I'm pretty sure you've
Industry wanker.
Yes.
By the way, am I allowed to swear?
Hell yeah.
Of course you can, man.
Apparently for YouTube, you can't swear in the first 3 minutes of a video, but you can just cut it out. So Johan, you've got a job on your hands. We'll just
beep it.
We'll beep it out for the first 3
Put a
minutes.
break
You
over
can
the
say
top.
whatever you want.
Industry person.
Yeah, first industry person on the podcast.
Thank you.
This person has helped all of our careers, actually, I would say. Had a very key role in, especially mine and Jack's early career at Shogun, definitely. And at Hospital, actually. We were releasing there as well. But yeah, she's worked for all of the giants and had a very key role in that and steering the success of those labels. It's Amy Jayne. Woo!
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be your first industry person.
Industry person. The funny thing is, all the industry people are now going to get onto me about, like, when's it my turn to come on? I lived with the Shogun label manager and he hasn't made it on yet. So Yet. Well, I don't live with him anymore, so...
He hinted at that the other day, actually, when in the message to me.
Okay.
So it was going to happen. It's got to happen at some
It'll
point.
happen at some point. We wanted to get the best on first, though. That's why.
He was your protege, basically.
To be fair, yeah. We get the mental before we get the paddle one on, isn't it?
Oh, bless him.
We've got the Jedi
Pete
Master.
smashed it.
Yeah, now he has smashed it, but you smashed it more. So let's talk about you.
No. I've just been about for a fucking long time.
Yeah,
Like-
it feels like the whole time Galaxy's been around, Pola and Bryson's been around. Not Visionobi because he's 900 years old. But you've definitely, you've just been there.
I was trying to think about, like, obviously when I worked at Hospital, I met you and Harry, but I can't remember the exact moment I met you.
It would have.
And Tom, I think it was obviously when I worked at Hospital. I remember seeing you at the hospitality events.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I can't remember like
We
the
were there.
first time because, I can't remember when the first time. I think it was probably through Jack.
Yeah, I think
to
we
be
did
fair.
we did a release for, it would have been med school
Yes.
before we signed for Shogun.
Yeah.
I think we did a remix for Tony's album. That was it. I think that was it. And we played a couple med school shows, and it would have been around that time, maybe a hospitality in the woods or one of those times.
Yeah. Well, even before then, like we did
Would have been the
Brixton,
park.
Hospitality in the Park. I was
So not
involved
the
in
park,
that one.
that's what I meant, the park.
Finsbury
But
Park one might
yeah,
have been.
that was, I was involved in the first one and then I left just before the second one. But like, I have been around for a long time, and like so much so the other day I was listening to the Metalheads mix on Marianne Hobbs' show, I think it was, on Friday, and I Shazammed a tune that I helped release.
And you forgot about it. Okay.
And that's probably not the first time that's happened. Like, it's like I remember when I worked in the Shogun office, I'd be like, "This tune's sick," and they're like, "Hey, we put it out 6 months ago." And because obviously, like, I wouldn't even be able to put a figure on how many releases I've been involved in, like, because I worked at Hospital 11 years ago.
Damn.
And I've obviously worked for some prolific labels since then and just been whacking out music, and it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
we've got you to blame for our promo inboxes. Getting absolutely hammered, basically.
I've slowed them down a bit now, but yeah.
Was that the Phase and Grey Code mix? I swear it was. Little Classics Heads one.
The Metalheads mix you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I
Oh,
think it was.
is that on? Yeah.
Shameless plug, got a little feature on that mix. Go
No,
check
that's
it out.
why. That's the only
Obviously,
reason
I was
you want to
like,
mention
Yeah,
it.
the mixer was out on Friday. Yeah, I
Yeah.
came in halfway through, but yeah, they were playing some absolute bangers.
Yeah, it's a
And,
sick little mix.
is it Medic? No, it was an MC on it.
Was there? Oh, maybe it's a different one then. Yeah, it might be a different one.
But yeah,
one-
it
that one
was a
stung
banger.
Rich a
Go
little
check
bit.
it out. It'll be available on the iPlayer.
There you go. Shameless
Yeah.
plug number one.
Yeah.
So before we kind of jump into your career and kind of how you got here, I think because you are the first, industry person, we're going to call it, until the time limit of swearing is done with YouTube.
Yep.
that we have on, it'd be great, I think, just for the people, I'm gonna say the people at home as if we're alive, the people at home on the couch right now, just like label managers. Like, I guess the role probably is different label to label, but kind of in the various roles that you've been in, how would you describe that role? And kind of, in relation to kind of the artists and the kind of the marketing and all of that, how would you describe that?
Well, first and foremost, I wasn't always a label manager.
True.
So my first proper job with a proper label was with Hospital back in 2012, 2013. And Tony Coleman basically just like offered me a job as a promo assistant after me meeting him up in Newcastle a few times when he was doing a lot of shows up there. So first and foremost, I started off as a promo assistant, obviously doing all the marketing for Hospital and Med School and Hospitality. So the releases on both labels and the events, obviously all the social media, email marketing, everything that comes with that. So that was kind of like my entry point. When I was a lot younger. And then a year later, I was promoted to head of promotions for Hospital, Med School and Hospitality. And like Hospital is such a machine, and such a great team there that like I was going to conferences. And like one thing I will say, and I talk to my students about this, is like I didn't know how a record label worked. When I started working at Hospital Records, which is the biggest drum and bass label in the world, I was like, wow, also what the fuck am I doing? I genuinely didn't know what I was doing. But like I was given the opportunity, so just threw myself into it, and was lucky enough to work with like such an amazing team there, and like was just like a sponge, and was just like learning everything from all the people around me. So I came in from the promo marketing side of things, and like I say, got promoted to head of promotions, and then obviously later on went on to work with Shogun as head of marketing, which is the same role, just a different way of saying it, basically.
Title,
But like as I've got older and the more time I've spent working with record labels and with artists like yourselves, the more I've wanted to understand the process from start to finish, not just the marketing side of things. So then I wanted to become more involved and like have more say in what you're doing, like you as artists, not just with the social media campaigns and everything, but like help shape an artist's career and help build that. So then I went more into the label manager role, and obviously with that you need to understand kind of obviously the law behind releasing music and be able to negotiate good deals and like understand the process from start to finish. So that's how kind of like over the past decade I've come from the marketing angle, which a label manager obviously needs to understand all of the elements, like the marketing. So I came in from that angle, but then like I say, as I got older and the more time I spent working for labels, the more I just wanted to know everything and be in control, because I am a massive control freak as well. I don't know if you've noticed.
I feel like we have some experience with that.
Yeah.
For sure. But when it's on your side, it's the best thing ever. Like when Amy, the control freak, is working for you, as in like your team, us.
But that's the thing, I'm the lucky one though, because like look at the array of artists I've had the opportunity to work with over the past like decade, and like you're spending all this time creating this art, and then you're essentially handing it over to me and go, right, do your best. So like I'm lucky enough to be in that position, so I want to work my goddamn hardest to make sure that the art that you've spent so long creating is given the best opportunity to reach many people and is get as much success that it deserves. I'm the lucky one.
That feels like a pretty nice like what the goal of what you do is. I feel like that's like a really nice way of putting it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like I am really lucky, and there's obviously the music release side. Like we did Roundhouse the other day. We sold out the Roundhouse.
We'll definitely get onto that. Yeah.
And I only get given, like I always say, I do have knowledge and understanding and the skills that I have picked over the years, but sometimes I always think that maybe I'm only as good as the artist that I'm working with. Like you can't polish a turd.
I was just thinking that when you said that.
You know what I mean? Yes. Like you can't polish a turd.
Yeah.
Like no matter how good my understanding is of the landscape and how good I am at networking or my list of contacts, if the music is shit, the music is shit. Like I'm not going to be able to sell that. I can try my hardest, but then obviously if I'm working with an amazing artist that has a really good work ethic, and obviously the music most importantly is great, then that kind of makes my job easier in a way. But obviously I do need to know what I'm doing at the same time, and like guide things in the right direction, and like with a lot of like music release campaigns, it's all about like scheduling, the strategy and the timing, and like should I give a Beatport exclusive? Like how should I package this? Should I do an album? Should I do 6 singles? Like, but the answer is never the same for one artist. Like what works for one artist won't work for the next. So you just have to have all that knowledge and understand the artist and their art and the audience that they're trying to reach, and like I say, strategize, and then get the most out of like I remember trying to sell albums for you guys, and like trying to get you to come up with like content. Like do you remember when you and Harry came around my house?
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah,
Oh
and we
my
sat there for a whole
God.
afternoon, just like with 1,000 records,
There was
just draped across the
we
living
had the
room
decks
floor. Yeah,
up in the middle. I mean, the decks did live in the middle of the living room at that time. But you and Harry came round, and we were trying to film all this like content. And this was obviously which album was this? Lost in Thought.
Yeah, so this would have been our second album.
Yeah. So but it was hard.
Yeah.
Like we spent hours, and it was just like, because obviously you were both, Harry especially, very shy.
Oh yeah.
Not very good on camera, and but you got to learn to work with the artist and like not understand what works. Like imagine if I asked Alex Perez to go, "Hi, I'm Alex. My EP's out on Friday." He'd tell me to go fuck myself. Like, and I would never ask him to do that, because that kind of stuff doesn't work for an artist like that.
Is there an element though? Is there an element of having an artist come out a little bit out of their comfort zone to try something new?
Yeah, but you obviously don't want to make them feel comfortable and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like pushing them.
That's the word,
to
pushing
release
them,
because I obviously had known you and Harry for ages, and I know how funny you could be.
Yeah.
But then when I used to stick a camera in front of your face, you weren't that funny anymore.
Look at
Suddenly, no. You look like Tim's little field mouse.
You can't keep the camera off them now. Crazy. You're the blossom.
But it's like bringing the best out of them.
Yeah.
And trying your hardest to obviously, because unfortunately, you can't just put a record out there nowadays.
No, I want to go into detail about the garden.
Talking about like tailoring it for a particular artist, how have you found that in like the modern climate, like working for like a deeper label as the industry's sort of heading in this like different like direction? Like how have you like navigated that? And
I mean, it's hard. Like Visage hate posting on social media at all, and like. So it is, you've got to find that balance. And like with music marketing, like I said, like I used Alex as an example because he's probably, out of all the people that I work with, I can't imagine him doing it. But he doesn't do like the to camera videos because that's not him. He lets the visuals and the music do the talking. And like with artists that don't want to be like Mosey does it well. Mosey does it
so
exceptionally well.
Yeah. Tour de force of social media, Jon GLXY.
He's amazing, and like he's like, I'm not saying that the artists I work with are not charismatic, but he's really good at being funny on camera. But then other artists will maybe feel more comfortable doing like a production breakdown video where it's like screen grab and like them talking over, like Monty and Visage do some of that with all their Patreon stuff, and they are in their element there because they're talking about like the geekier, like the techier side of things. So and like some people like talking about like their musical influences. So there is ways of using social media to your advantage without being all like, this is what I'm having for breakfast, this is me at the gym, hi everybody. Like there's different like content.
Just getting creative with it basically, which is good, because we always talk about like whenever we struggle, it's because you're struggling to think of that, like what's my niche, like where's my selling point. And then I think it's very easy to get kind of stressed out and worked up about it, see what other people are doing and be like, I need to be doing that. Whereas really, I guess from your side, that must be quite nice to help someone find their
and like
niche.
fans invest in artists, and they want to know more about them. They want to know not necessarily what they're having for breakfast or whatever, but like they want to know what influences them to make the art that they love listening to. So they want to know more about them. Like people like knowing like football teams and like knowing what they're doing outside of the studio. So if you are willing to
cheat on their wives normally.
Whoa.
That's for Instagram, that clip. There you go.
Shots fired at just every producer.
I'm the only married man in the room. I've just got to clarify that did not apply to me.
Premier League footballers.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
You said footballers, didn't you?
No, I said no.
She's talking about, like,
you said,
I wonder where that came from.
yeah, literally, that's what I was like. When I left them,
I thought you said
like producer DJ's personal interest, like football.
Like what football team they support.
Okay.
Jesus, I was going to say, are we going there?
I
Are
thought
we
you were
going
saying,
there?
I thought you were saying as an example, like people who like football want to know what the footballers do outside of football,
Well,
and that's why I was like,
That'd be so off-beat.
okay.
yeah. Apologies to any married drum and bass producers out there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, watching this with their wives, and their wives just going, what?
Just
You're not going on ever again.
Say.
What goes on Tosta's on
Good. Glad that happened.
Okay. I was going to say, it's a bit early for us to be throwing people under the bus, isn't it? Bloody hell.
That's the £10 praise.
That's the Patreon tier, yeah, that's-
Want to know who cheated on their wife this week? Yeah, well, we've got the scoop for you.
Next time, on Amy Brothers.
just home wreckers, just the three of us, just a bunch of home
monetize it,
wreckers.
it's fine, whatever. Jesus. Sorry,
Monetising
anyway.
trauma.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
Maybe to drag you down with us.
Yeah, anyway, we
Stay one out of
shall
this.
move on. Oh, God.
Okay, so just going back a few steps, because we were talking about one thing you said about, the music's got to be good and you've got to be invested in the music.
Yeah.
Where was your like entry point into drum and bass? So you said you met Tony Coleman in Newcastle way back. Was that at a rave?
It was, yeah. I actually hated dance music when I was younger.
Okay, interesting. What was,
What
your,
were you into?
what was your thing? Yeah.
I was into emo bands. I was like, I love rock because I grew up in South Wales. Many moons. I was born and bred in London and then moved to South Wales when I was like 6 or 7 and stayed there till I was 17. And like during that era, it was like Funeral for a Friend, and like it was very like the Valleys was full of it, and like I even used to put on like Battle of the Band shows.
Oh, so you were doing like metal promo.
Yeah, so
That's
like
mad.
Like I put on a Battle of the Band show when I was 12 years old and raised money for Red Nose Day. I only raised like 200 quid, but like
that's amazing.
because I used to hang around with skaters and like everyone in my year like rock music, like dance music was for chavs.
Yeah, fair.
Like, and like to be fair, and I was very uneducated in dance music, and like, but all the clubs, and the pubs around me had bands on, so that's kind of like what I grew up with. And like I say, I used to put, all my friends were in bands. I tried to play the guitar, couldn't, but then I realised I'm really good at like organising things.
At 12 as well. That's
Yeah,
That
well,
is
I didn't
mental.
think. I don't think I was like really thought it at the time. But I look back now, and I'm like, oh shit, that's what I was doing. Like I was like thinking like a promoter at the age of 12, and I did that. And we put on a couple of shows, and like even at my like 15th birthday party, I hired loads of bands and I sung a couple of songs.
Is there videos of that?
There was no videos back in them days, mate.
Back in those days.
Yeah, valid.
But no, so yeah, when I was in South Wales and then I got like really into hip hop, like UK hip hop, and then like it was really, I don't even, like I was like really into like RJD2 like when I was quite young, and then that got me into like more hip hop, and then started getting into a little bit of American stuff. Then I moved to Darlington, and
Where is
I made
Darlington?
Darlington's in County Durham, up north. So
North
my
somewhere.
stepdad's from up there.
Yeah.
So I moved there and started going to college there. And then obviously at college, people were like, oh, what are you into? I was like, hip hop. Because like they didn't look like they were like emo kids. So I didn't.
Who's your favourite UK hip hop rapper?
Verb T.
Nice.
Probably.
Select.
Yeah, so
I guess you live in Brighton now as well, where that's where
High Focus.
High Focus
based
is,
from.
isn't it?
Yeah. Do a little bit of work with him. Obviously, Alex has done some remixes.
Nice.
And Verbs, obviously, and Mr. Slips. Anyway,
Off piece.
focus.
That's my fault. Sorry.
So yeah, and then when I went to college, I started to listen more hip hop and like got surrounded by like different group of people that were teaching me about music. And then I kind of went from hip hop into drum and bass because this group of older kids like started playing it to me. And I never thought that I would ever like dance music because like in Wales, dance music that I got subjected to when I was really young was like happy hardcore.
Yeah.
And I'm still not massively into that now.
No.
But like, I got introduced to drum and bass. And then my friends were like, we're going to go to this rave.
Do you remember what the first tune was that you had?
Oh, I don't know what the first tune. I know what the first show was that I went to. It was DJ Marky, Ronnie Size, and Stamina.
I mean, that's not
what
bad.
a
is
good
it?
first show to go to.
Yeah,
Damn.
it was a wax on event at Digital in Newcastle.
Sick.
And I think I knew all the words to LK by that point because Stamina was, I remember he was emceeing at the top. I don't know if you've ever been to Digital in Newcastle, but the DJ booth is quite high up and then the dance floor's down here. But he came down and like he was singing and I remember he went like that with the mic and I was singing. So by that point I knew all the words. I mean, they're not hard to learn, are they really? But like, so yeah, and I was just like, this is amazing. And like, I just become infatuated with it and was like, they didn't have, in Darlington's like half an hour train ride to Newcastle, so just going out all the time and like then started, because obviously this was way before Facebook or anything like that, and like there was a forum called Newcastle Beats, which was a forum based
Sick.
for like people in the northeast that love drum and bass, and through that I got to know some of the like more niche drum and bass nights. And then like I went from like the one at the big club, and then I was going to like small ones in like room 2 of a pub, and like was like and
Proper
like
headsy.
yeah, the headsy ones,
Proper
and,
headsy
like,
ones.
and like with just locals playing and like and like networking. And I remember like, and obviously there wasn't many girls in the scene as well. It was quite a novelty to some people that like this girl was really like infatuated by drum and bass. And then I did that. And I met loads of people from the northeast, and we'd all meet up in Newcastle. Turbulence, which is the most iconic drum and bass event in the northeast, that was on once a month. They were the only show. They were the only big promoters that were bringing headliners up. Like everyone's played there. Like everyone. So like was going to that every month, and like I said, going to the smaller ones. And I was studying photography at college. So then I started getting in with the promoters and becoming their event photographer.
Okay.
And then I was like networking with all these promoters, and all these DJs, and I went to university to do a photography degree and put on my own drum and bass night. Drum and bass in one room, dubstep in the other, because obviously dubstep had come up by that point as well. Dropped out of uni because I realised I wanted to put on events. Moved back to Newcastle because Carlisle was an absolute fucking shithole. And no one liked drum and bass. They liked psytrance. Like we put Andy C on, and I swear only like 200 people turned up. And considering there's two universities in that city, that was a shocker. Live and learn. But anyway, moved back to Newcastle, and I was helping other promoters, put my own dubstep events on, and then just chatting to all the DJs when they were coming up, and following up on Twitter the next day. Oh my god, great set last night, you know. Just doing it because I loved it, and I loved like Newcastle felt so far away, and like when we had like Chase and Status back in the day come up, it was like, oh my god, like 2004 Chase and Status like come up, and it was just like, oh my god. And like Turbulence, bless them, they would only have like 1 or 2 headliners because no one wanted to come that far. But it was like the best day of the month.
It's like a real big moment.
Yeah, and then like follow up on Twitter and be like, oh, you dropped this last night, I love it. And like I said, there was no like real intention. It wasn't like I was I was actively out to get something. I just appreciated the artists and was doing the photography, like I say, and did a bit of exit flyering, which was proper depressing when you got to like go out and stand in Newcastle as well, like where it's freezing and you stand outside a club just going, next drum bass night.
The reality of it's not great, but like, I do kind of miss those like organic days of like flyer postering and like
maybe during the summer. I mean, you meet some characters. You meet some characters.
Yeah. You're seeing everyone at their most mangled, aren't you?
Yeah. They're walking that way. Their jaws like all the way over there. And it's like, all right, mate. But no, like did that for a few years and was actually then got a job actually working for the club for the owner, Dave Stone. He used to run Sour Records back in the day. He was the first. He signed Original Nutter.
Okay.
Little fun fact for you. So
Nice.
I was working for him, and he owned a chain of clubs. He also owned Digital in Brighton. So yeah, I was working for him, and then Tony came up, and I'd met Tony loads of times. I remember I photographed him at a smaller club. And he actually used some of my photos for his podcast. Because do you remember when the hospital podcast used to have all the photos used to accompany the side? This is like obviously like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, "Would you move to London and like come and work for us?" I was like, "Yeah." And then next thing I know, a week later, I'm on a train down to London. I did an interview and got the job, and just packed up my stuff and just moved to London and started working for a hospital, which was pretty mental.
Yeah.
Considering I didn't even like apply for the job, and as I mentioned earlier, I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing.
But that kind of that transition from like, that's a mad journey from like 12 years old putting on metal bands to like them getting a job at a hospital. But the kind of way you told that story, it just sounded like every step of the way your kind of love for it just kind of grew like a bit bigger every time.
And like I say, there wasn't really like, I didn't know what my objective was.
Yeah.
Apart from go out and listen to great music and be surrounded by like-minded people that like the music. But yeah, I look back now and I'm like, fuck, you were networking.
Yeah, that
like,
was... Yeah, you were like some serious grinding without even really maybe realizing.
Realizing it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
there's a message in there for everyone. I feel like following a passion and pursuing it can get you places sometimes, man.
just like being friendly and being a nice person, it can get you far.
Yeah.
Funny that, isn't it?
No one wants to work with a dickhead, do they?
No.
I mean, I had a question written down. Was it always your dream to work in the music industry? But it doesn't sound like it necessarily was until it was.
Yeah, I don't like. It wasn't a plan, and like I worked with BIM in Brighton, like the music college, and like all them students are studying like music business.
Yeah,
that's their goal. Like I didn't have access to anything like that. I only did a photography degree because it meant I got a student loan and I could move out and not live with my mum and party all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest. Like,
that's what I went to uni as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I did. It was like what you did. Like I did really well in school. Like my mum wanted me to be a doctor. Like they wanted me to do A-levels in like physics and that, and I was like, I'm going to go to art college. I was a massive disappointment. I was a massive disappointment. And then, like, well, to be fair, it took my mum a long time as well. She's just like, but like, when are you going to be on Radio 1? She's like, you're always there. I'm like, but I don't make music, Mum.
Sounded really familiar, that one.
Yeah. She doesn't.
MC, really?
She doesn't really get it, but she does now because obviously I've been doing it long enough, and obviously I run my own business out of it now. But it just kind of happened. It came from just partying too much, maybe.
That's meant to be, mate.
I feel like that's probably all of our entry in this drum bass, isn't it? Like being a fan first, and like going to the raves. And I remember, like, for me, it was like going to see Ram at Matter back in the Matter days. That was my first like legal 18-year-old rave, and from there I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this. Like, it's a similar vibe. But I do feel like now maybe I might be wrong with this, 'cause I've never actually asked someone who's like 18. Well, no, that's not true. I have spoken to some like people that are just coming into the scene, but I feel like there's a bit more intention now of like people like, I want to be a producer and be a DJ and play XYZ festival. Whereas for like us lot, we're all in our 30s, like that was never.
It's also a different skill set you need. Like, realistically, you know, what we were just saying, it's like if someone now coming into the game, their social media game's got to be on point, whereas we just needed to be really good at socialising. That was how you networked back in the day. The network is now online. So like
Oh, yeah.
it's a completely different skill set needed for the modern day, I think, for upcoming producers, DJs, MCs.
And
the lot.
and the behind the scenes stuff as well. Like I say, with the students that I work with, they're so switched on. And like doing a music business course, which like I say, I didn't have access to, but like they are going, oh, Aim, can you worked with that label? Can you get me an internship? And like they're really switched on, and they have an understanding of what happens in front of the stage and behind the scenes. And like the kids nowadays, they are super switched on.
Yeah.
And it's
super ADHD, but
yeah,
super switched on.
But it's a pleasure to see. Like I
Yeah.
like some of the students I work with, I just want to hire all of them as my assistant, because I'm like,
This is why you're really there, isn't it?
I'm like,
This is why you're really
I'm just like, if you're this switched on now, like I was just going out and like, yeah.
You're running events at 12, mate. Come on.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You're
give it-
switched on.
Don't make it out as if I had like a global events like company. It was like it
Local
was
town hall.
in the function room of a pub round the corner from my house.
That's
It was
more than I
epic.
Still, though.
That's more than I did when I was 12, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I was walking around with a bucket because you couldn't charge entry because it was a pub, so I had to literally collect money. Yeah, yeah.
But then, to be honest, like you've kind of, the reason you've been asked to work with BIM is because you've basically like paved the way for a lot of those people to do that. Like, it's the same with like, again, with the production thing, like people in the 90s when they're making music had to like have like loads of physical hardware machines and like learn all these techniques because of the limitations of the machinery. And then when I started making music, it was like, I just download this bit of software.
Yeah.
And like, do you know what I mean? It's like the things that get better over time, and there had to be like pioneers and people
Accessible.
people had to do the hard work for us to do the easy work, basically. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for that. So if you could like, so you said that's 15 years you've been doing this roughly, or was it more?
So 11 years since I like 11, 12. Hang on, let me think. 11 years. Yeah, 11 years working for record labels.
Yeah.
And then before that, I was working in events.
In the clubs,
in clubs and
So Hospital was 11 years ago.
yeah,
basically.
so I've been working for established record labels for 11 years.
I mean, I was going to say that's such an entry though, because back then, like the industry was so different to today. You're like doing like physical sales, like that. It must have been a vibe in there, like
it was.
popping
It was a lot
off.
smaller team. I was the only woman there. I wasn't the first woman that
Yeah.
ever worked there, but when I worked there, I was initially the first woman, and then obviously Nikki became my assistant, Megan, and yeah, now the team there's huge.
Yeah, it's a big team there. Though.
Yeah.
Like a proper
But
business.
It's a proper. It always has been an absolute powerhouse. They've always led the way. Like even back in the day, what they did with their YouTube channel was like really pioneering for like an independent label. And like everything they did digitally, like it paved the way in the underground dance, and like an absolute powerhouse. And obviously the events brand, which has just gone from strength to strength.
Yeah, it's ridiculously massive.
So yeah, it is kind of crazy that like I started there.
Yeah.
But I've told Tony, I seen him out in Tisno actually. Was it last August, and it was lovely to see him. And I mean it when I say like I owe him and Chris like so much, because yes, I didn't have a fucking clue when I started working there, but I was like a sponge. And like I say, that Chris had me speaking on panels. Like I went and spoken on a panel out in Amsterdam at ADE in front of loads and loads of people for Spotify. And it was just like a couple of years before, like I say, I didn't even know how a record label works, but they took that chance on me, and I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for them. And yeah, I've just grabbed every opportunity that I've had the chance to since, which has been quite a lot.
You said something interesting. You said something interesting there about the AD Spotify thing, because I guess you would have been, like Spotify really blew up, I guess, like whilst you were working at labels, right?
Yeah.
What was that transition like?
So when, obviously bearing in mind my position at Hospital was obviously promo marketing, so I wasn't part of like the digital strategy per se then, but like it was before playlists were a big thing. Like so
and
that
places like everything now, aren't they?
so that started happening towards the end of my time at Hospital. But like they did deliver to Spotify and streaming platforms as a platform, but like the marketing side of it wasn't there then. And like obviously it's taken over, and I commend streaming platforms and their playlists and their discovery modes and the opportunities they give to find new music. But if they could just pay artists a little
It would be nice.
better, it would be pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's kind of like this Stockholm syndrome thing, which is ironic because they're Swedish as well.
it is.
But like, it's like this situation where, because I remember watching like I think it's on Netflix, they have that Explained series, and they did one about like streaming platforms and stuff. And they basically gave a breakdown of like the transition of physical sales to like streaming DSPs or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously at the time, Spotify was a reaction to piracy, right?
Yes.
Like Pirate Bay and LimeWire and all that. So it was almost like they were like the saviors of the music industry,
Yeah.
in a way.
Well, have you watched? There's a Netflix version called, I think it's called The Playlist,
I'm not seeing it. No.
and it makes you hate them all
Well, this is what I was going to say. Yeah, at the start, it was like, oh my God, this new thing is like going to
Yeah.
pay artists again. And then
because
the actual plan was to monopolize, and then we can,
So like, it wasn't to cure all the shit that was going on with piracy. It was just like, oh, here's an opportunity.
Yeah, of course.
And we're tech geniuses, and they didn't even want to pay the record labels. And what's his name? Daniel Ek.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's not an official, but like, I hated him anyway. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
His playlist is going on. This podcast is on Spotify, ironically. It's fine.
No, I don't hate him.
You hate Daniel Ek, it's fine.
I don't.
You absolutely hate Daniel Ek.
No, I
It's
don't.
fine.
No.
It was that pause, that
The
moment
pause
of
was
realization of what you had
beautiful.
said.
It's fine.
No, it's not. I just.
He's an evil overlord.
It's frustrating.
He's an evil overlord.
It's frustrating, and then watching that because like I said, I initially thought the approach was to obviously combat piracy. And then you watch that, and you watch the discussions that are happening, and it's all based on the facts. And like, it was a real eye opener for me watching the and like him coming at it from like a tech angle and not thinking of the music as art.
Product.
And like, so it is frustrating.
It's funny actually, because my day job, I work for like a music tech / like product company, and you do have to remind yourself a lot of the time that there's real. I guess what I do is a bit different because we're kind of enabling people to create music, but you do start talking very quickly in terms of like product and users, and that's kind of the whole angle of Spotify, isn't it? It's like users and products, yeah.
But like, obviously, streaming is not just Spotify. Streaming has obviously revolutionized music, and people are paying for the accessibility. I like the discovery. Like I love it. Like every Friday, and I generally have a release every Friday. So once I've got all my stuff out the way and make sure that everything's, my ritual is to have a coffee, and I go through Release Radar and look at and not just Spotify. Look in all the playlists, and like even on Apple, and like kind of, I think maybe that is the label manager in me, but like I obviously, as a music listener, I want to see what's new and what's out, but then see what's like the approaches, and I look at all the different platforms to see, like look at New Music Friday and see if that is reflected in Apple's new music and like things like that, and like it's like a process, and I love it, and like, but that's me, like just obviously wanting to understand and break everything down.
As a user, you can't deny.
It's unbelievable.
How
it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
The thing I think the most frustrating with these things, and obviously I can't really get into like the tech of it. I don't really know like what goes on behind the scenes, but it's really frustrating to see a bunch of like music that was released in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s on like millions of plays and getting the same like equity as like new music. I feel like that was a flaw, not a flaw in the system, because obviously to get everyone on there, they needed all the music on there. They needed to like lock off all these contracts. But I think that's the thing that actually upsets me the most, is like a bunch of people who made loads of money off music back in the day, didn't really need more money, licensed their music to Spotify, and then are on the same terms as everyone else. And because their tunes were bangers back in the day, they've now got like 50 million plays again on a track. And it's like, I get the platform needed that, And I, you know, like I said, I'm not really that business minded or know how that
I
could have
had
been
never
operated.
thought of it from that perspective, though. I was going to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, it's well shit that they're now all of a sudden getting paid peanuts for their music and people listening to it. But like you said, they had that kind of big financial like burst the first time round, and that's not to say that they should get paid less than everybody else, but maybe everybody else, if it's new music, should be getting paid a little bit more. If the going rate for everybody needed to be peanuts because it's for all of that music and like all music that history's ever put out, like
I've always thought
it's not a fair way to do it, though, is it?
Fair, is it?
No.
That's discrediting one person's art against another due to time.
Yeah.
But like one
It's
thing
difficult.
I do love about, obviously, in terms of back catalogue, especially for like a record label, like look at Hospital, look at Shogun. Like Shogun's turned 20 this year, and like they've got such an extensive back catalogue, and like people that have probably started listening to drum and bass over the past like 3 or 4 years won't know like the Icicle era, you know, like that, like the Icicle Spectral Soul era. They won't really know that, but like streaming, you can go back and you can re-educate. And record labels, they can have their discography, they can do features with playlists to re-educate people. Like the music is so accessible. Like I love that. And like I listen to more 80s music than I do drum and bass. Like I hardly ever listen to drum and bass.
I think you're in good company. You're in good company.
It's a theme on this podcast.
I hardly ever listen to drum and bass.
It's your job as well. I know you love it, but it is also your job as well. So I totally, you don't want to like get sick of it. That was an interesting thought, though, by the way. The fact that, like a new Shogun fan is going to know Poda and Bryson, GLXY, Substance before they'll know Spectra Soul, Alex Perez. That's crazy.
That's backwards.
That is so backwards.
But obviously, the way, and like Shogun do it. Like they've got their own playlists. Like and Hospital do it. Like look at like Hospital fans, look how long Hospital's been around for. Like, they won't know like
High Contrast,
High Contract first albums, Logistics, like
even like $1 Billion Gravy and all that
they
stuff.
They probably don't even know Mitsubishi is, like, you know what I mean?
That was a moment. You know, I actually forgot about him as well.
But thank God. I believe Hospital made the right move in removing his content.
110%.
But like, it's funny, isn't it? Like all these things that happen in the scene, and
I think
kids are too young now.
I guess also though, because D&B, like, although obviously it's been like part of our lives for so long, and like even, you know, like my age, like sort of middle schoolish, it's like it evolved a long time before I even had really started like first listening to it.
Yeah,
it's still a very like short amount of time in the history of like music, I suppose. So like it's kind of inevitable that would be the case, that, you know, like now people that go on to like Metalheads or Hospital, all these labels, you're always going to find the newer artists first. That's just how the system is set up. But I imagine back in the day, if you got into music when I did, there'd be people that were like popping off when I like came, like, you know, 11 years old listening to tapes, and it's like, oh, that's who's hot right now. And then, you know, like Pesce and that, maybe like I learned about them a little bit later, but, you know, they were actually like one of the original dons. And it kind of just, I think it just moves in cycles like that.
Cycles and generations. And then obviously the difference between our generation and the younger generation is obviously everything, not only streaming music is so much more accessible, but like you say, like the tech available to producers to make music. And like, just because you can make music doesn't mean you should.
Doesn't mean you should. But AI is going to make it so everyone makes music.
Yeah, but sometimes it's absolute dog shit, and maybe that the market is oversaturated.
100%.
Like, there's regular intervals, regular times at the moment where I'm like, fuck drum and bass.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm 36 years old. Like, I look at the Beatport chart and I'm like,
this is crazy.
What am I doing?
Yeah, mad.
It was actually interesting because I did want to ask you whether you consider a career outside of drum and bass but still in music, and if you could, what would that be? Like, where would you see yourself?
I mean, some days, like I say, I look at the Beatport chart, think I should just stack shelves in Sainsbury's. You know what I mean?
Not photography?
No, well, maybe my eyes aren't what they.
Wow.
No, I'm joking. I love it, but like, obviously, I do feel like I don't go to drum and bass nights anymore because I feel too old. I'm not saying there is a cap on age, but like
the current sound isn't really to your taste.
The current sound it's a bit noisy.
Yeah, which is it's a valid viewpoint. Like I think tastes change over time because when we've had this conversation so many times, but like when I was 18, I loved Jump Up.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
I'm sure you did as well,
the
right?
Clips, like
exactly.
Clips, chatty rubbish.
But the thing is,
Slippery Slope.
That would have been
Slippery Slopes.
That would have been 30-year-olds at that time being like, this is rubbish as well.
Yeah.
So we're just now the boomers being like, this is crap.
I know, and it's so true. It's so true. And like obviously with 1985, I don't just release drum and bass. Like
that's true.
There's 140. Previously known as dubstep.
Yeah, can I ask about this? Because me and Tom talk about this a lot. Like, when did dubstep become 140? By the way,
when dubstep became cringe, when it got American.
When
it was when it was Americanized, wasn't it? It's basically once it came back over here, and people were trying to insist on doing it the way we'd always done it, and go like, let's have a wedge between what happened over there,
so it was a brand
and what we were doing here, right? I think it was around that point.
Yeah.
Are we going to start calling garage 135 though? I hope not.
Not got such a ring to it, has it?
But garage is getting pretty jump uppy now though, so I'm wondering if there's going to be another, and it's going to become a different genre.
Yeah.
We'll ask SP. He can be the guy that rebrands it.
Easy, man.
It was Future Garage.
Nah, that's something different though. That's what
everyone's just calling it.
No,
We're
it's not.
gonna start
dance music,
calling
isn't
it
it?
like DJ like historic garage.
Look, I'm not making up the rules,
Periodic
all right?
garage.
I'm just saying that definitely when garage made a
we can make it through the decade.
but when it made a comeback initially, like I'm talking like 10,
No, but
15
that was like
years
a different
ago.
sound though. That was like synchro and all them lot, yeah?
Yeah, I
That
feel
was
like,
like-
I feel like it was very, very similar, man. I feel like it was very similar.
I would say
The spectrum was
It was a bit more like synthy and it sounded futuristic. I get it.
So I heard someone say Future Jungle the other day.
Nah, can we not do that?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Like,
People just
Jesus.
fucking throwing adjectives around now.
Yeah,
I don't like it. Just take a moment to think about what you're saying before you say it.
Subgenrification of music is definitely is a real issue.
It's always been an issue.
Yeah, but that must be quite nice though, working with let's talk about 985 because this 1985.
1985.
It'll always be 985 to me.
Your
but...
royalty statement's supposed to be true.
I need to be careful. Let's talk about 1985 music.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
It must be a different experience going from, I guess technically Hospital and Shogun were technically artist-led labels, but also with a heavy label like CEO element to it as well. And what I mean is, obviously, with Hospital, you had Tony and Chris.
Yeah.
Shogun, you had Ed and Kia.
Yeah.
But obviously, 1985 is just Alex in terms of like the creator of the label.
Yeah, well, the team is just me and Alex.
There you go.
Yeah, and we accomplished quite a lot.
You've done all right. I guess, firstly, what would you say the main differences between working with like a kind of a traditional label in drum as we can call it that, so like Shogun Hospital being the old labels or ones that have been around for a long time, and then working with like a newer, more independent, if you can say that as well, artist-led label. Is there much of a difference? I guess 1985 is so big now, maybe there's much of the same.
So first and foremost, for the listeners,
yes,
so they understand. So obviously I was label manager at Shogun, and during the pandemic I left. Because obviously during the pandemic, all these producers were going in the studio making all this music, and record labels were releasing less. So a lot of people started self-releasing more. So I had a lot of people hit me up and like wanted to understand the process, and I was like giving people tips, and I was like, hang on,
you should be getting paid for this.
hang on, I think there's something to this.
Yeah.
So like an absolute nut job, I gave up a perfectly great job, full-time job during the pandemic,
left
Shogun. But like I left Hospital as well, you know what I mean? Like this is the thing, like by leaving Hospital I have the opportunity to work with Ed and Keir and all you amazing artists, and like there's a bit of a shelf life with me. Like I have to move on. It's like, it's not because I've lost love in the job, it's just to open new doors and to create new opportunities.
From 12 years old to now, you can see that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So during the pandemic I left Shogun. Technomatic obviously started self-releasing. So with Technomatic it's just them. So I was working alongside them. We did an EP and an album, and some events. We've done quite a lot actually. over
Done
the past 3
XOY,
years.
was it?
XOYO,
Yeah.
just sold out XOYO for a second time.
Very good, very good.
So with Technomatic, that's me just working directly with them. So that's just them self-releasing. So I was working with them, and then obviously working with Jack on Must Make. Initially, that was just me working directly with Jack, and we did the first album, Set and Setting. And it's hard, you know, because you're working directly with the artist and the label owner, where it's their budgets, it's their like say they want to do vinyl, and like it's their money and budgets, but it's also their art as well. So like the difference with me working with artists like that in that format is because you sometimes have to have really difficult conversations. Like even to this day, Jack sends me music, and sometimes if I don't like something, I have to tell him, and like if I have to be, it is quite difficult having those conversations, because like
Especially when you've known this people for a long time as well, right?
I've known them for years and years. So there's that, and from their point of view as well, they are putting their time and effort and money into a project, and having to like base all their decisions based on what I've said and their gut feeling. They don't have a record label like Hospital or Shogun that have had years of experience and done projects exactly like that can advise.
Yeah.
I'm the one advising, and that's a lot of responsibility.
More, yeah,
for me,
high
you know what I mean?
stakes. Yeah.
So like, and I love doing it, and like I say, it's taught me a lot about myself. Is like working closer with people on that side. Like I say, sometimes having to have those difficult conversations. Before, I would hide behind other members of staff or protocols or something like that. But when it's just you and that other person in a room, and you have to be quite frank, because you got to come up with the right ideas which are going to be best for their career. But then so I started working with Technomatic first. They were my first clients, and then there was Jack. And then I started working with the North Quarter as well. I did Fox's album. Obviously, North Quarter's been running for some time, led by Taya Lensman, who you've previously had on the show, I believe.
Yes, we have. Yeah, and he listens to every episode as well. Yeah. Big up T, man.
And like worked with him. Obviously, that he's worked with an amazing array of artists. And then out of the blue, Alex calls me for some advice. And then I gave him the advice. And then the next day, he was like, actually, would you like to run my label for me?
You've got a thing for people just offering you jobs, don't you? Like,
I suppose I do. And
Yeah,
he asked me. Obviously, was not going to turn that down.
Yeah.
And I love. I'm not just saying this because it's my main gig now, but like, I love working with Alex. Like, it's just the two of us, and look how much we've accomplished. Like, in fact, next week I've been working there for 3 years.
Amazing.
And like, the way he works, and like his vision and his ears and everything.
He's so like single-minded as well. In terms of just like
He just knows.
he just knows what he wants to do, basically.
So
Yeah.
I started working with him, and it was like a breath of fresh air, because we both work in the same way, which is obviously great when there's only two of you, and one lives in New Zealand and one lives in Brighton. You know what I mean? I obviously do a lot over WhatsApp.
24-hour coverage, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
You start, he still finishes. Vice versa,
But with 1985, obviously over the years, like he already had Monty, he already had Visage, and had so many great releases under the belt. I came in just before the 5th year. So obviously going into we're in the 8th now.
That's mad. It's been going for 8 years already.
And like, over the years, Alex is now consistently working with such an array of amazing artists. So it's not just about Alex. Like, there's other artists and other artists' careers that we have to take into consideration. And like we were talking earlier on about streaming. Like, streaming has obviously changed the way that people consume music, but it means that it makes it slightly more disposable in a way. So artists have to have consistency.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Consistency.
Yeah, it's a higher output, basically.
Yeah, so like a really important thing to me that me and Alex talk about all the time is like, now we've got all these artists that signed exclusively with us. We owe it to them to make sure that we are prioritizing them in our schedule, and we're looking at what they want to do, and we're doing that, and then we're filling in the gaps with like the odd VAs so we can champion up and coming new artists and
Galaxy.
trial some new
Up and coming,
artists.
We're on a VA, bro. We're on a VA. That's why I said it.
Yeah, that was
last September, I think. Yeah.
Last September, Green
Yeah.
Lane.
There you go. Shameless plug. Go stream it.
Available now on all good streaming platforms. I think there might be a couple of records available on the shop actually.
There you go. Go buy that.
But anyway, yeah. So even though obviously 1985 was originally like a platform for Alex, it's grown so quickly beyond that now. So we do operate very well. I don't want to say we operate like a hospital and show because we don't at all. But I mean like the structure.
And I would say the size of the label in terms of its following is getting right up there with like
Yeah,
right.
It's because it's no fucking about like, and like I love Alex's approach. Like we don't do social media for the sake of it.
Yeah.
We only do social media when we got something new
To talk
to say.
about, yeah.
And like when I was back being a marketing manager, I got told that that's not the way to do it and that you need to have like consistency because otherwise the algorithm will knock off.
I keep hearing this.
Yeah,
I keep
but
hearing this.
I've said this before. I've said it on panels before, and I've said it to my students before. Of all the great things I learned at Hospital and Shogun, all that went out the window and became completely irrelevant when I started working at 1985. It's its own beast and it has its own identity, and people lap it up, and I love it because if I had to sit there, because like I say, the team is me and Alex, so I do everything from contracting to marketing to like
merch and stuff as well.
Alex does the merch, but
Yeah.
obviously I like do the shop. Like he
Yeah,
does all
yeah.
the designing, he sources all the music, he does all the artwork. He works with me and a guy from Toulouse to do the videos, but he signs off all the vision, like all that, and then I do the admin. But like yeah, if Alex wanted me to then do all this kind of like random shit on social media in between posts, I wouldn't be able to have time to do the important things. And like thank God what the structure that we've got going works.
Yeah, it's being lean and agile, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
a similar thing in the tech world. You just kind of it's cutting the fat really,
Yeah.
and just doing all the important stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
like I was saying, we got Visage's EP out on the 5th of April.
What's that one called?
Dol Gulda.
Yeah, is that something from like Lord of the Rings or something? Where is that from?
I don't.
It was giving me Gandalf vibes. When I
That's
saw
not
that
Lord of
name.
the Rings reference.
No?
That's 100%
Jack
not
would
Lord of the
know.
Rings.
Jack would know.
Jack would know.
Pipes up
He
to talk
looks,
about
he looks
Jack would
know.
super sear right now. And he's got a super sear
Bro,
face.
that's 100% not Lord of the Rings.
Then
How dare you?
I can tell you that. Yeah, 100%,
Confidence,
yeah,
with confidence.
I've seen that face on like Star Wars people when they start to talk to me and realise I'm a fraud. I'm like, I know a bit, but like, fucking hell, no. I thought it was Jedi's were cool, right? Sorry.
But yeah, so
jokes.
as I say, Visage EP is coming out, and then after that, we literally have a release every single Friday until the week before Christmas.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And previously, we would do like one artist release a month with like, say it's an EP, like 2 singles, and then drop the EP, or if it's an album, maybe go over 2 months. But now, because we've got all the exclusively signed artists that we need to take care of, and we also have all these other exciting producers coming from all over the place, and obviously it's not just drum and bass, and it's not just 140. We got jungle. We've had a few garage bits.
Future Jungle or
No, it's
No.
prehistoric.
Future Jungle? Future Jungle 135.
Yeah.
Coming on 1985.
Prehistoric. Even the Facebook junglist doesn't know about this.
Yeah. Pre-1210 era.
But no, it's busy. It's busy, and the events
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I unfortunately wasn't able to attend because I was playing my own gig
You
actually.
missed out, mate.
I would have been there. But you know, I had to pay the bills, so we were up in Manchester. But Roundhouse is mental. Like that is an iconic venue.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been many drum and bass events there. I can only there's been like a couple maybe.
Wilkinson did a show there
Yeah.
like 15 years ago. Well, it wasn't 10 years ago. Subfocus apparently did a show there. But someone told me, but I don't remember it.
Was it real?
If I can't remember it, it didn't happen. Says the woman that had to Shazam a track that she released.
I was going to say, We'll trust that memory.
Yeah. But no, it's amazing. And
So how long in terms of planning and execution Yeah, like what goes into making a show that big and that successful, basically?
First and foremost, got to big up the Undivide and the Blast team that we work with.
Always.
Amazing promoters that we work with. And like the label, Alex doesn't want to do things that are repeated and that everyone's already done. So when we were talking to the promoters about doing a London show, we wanted it to be different. We didn't want to just do, like, no offense to these venues, of course, but like we didn't want to just do another Steelyard show, or like we did E1. We sold out E1 like months in advance. You were playing.
Yeah.
It was really good show, epic show. They just had all the new lights fitted and everything. 2 rooms, sold that out months in advance. And like with Alex and the label ethos, like we just want to go step up every time. So obviously spoke to the promoters and they floated the idea of the Roundhouse, and like both me and Alex were like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's like, we're talking like, for people that don't know, we're talking like iconic London venues, like properly.
And like, I actually grew up round the corner and I could see the Roundhouse from my bedroom window.
So like a nice full circle moment.
Yeah,
then.
my mum grew up in the pub, and one thing many people know is my dad died in the pub opposite the Roundhouse, and then my mum and my stepdad met in the kebab shop on the other
so
side.
This is like a real...
So like it was really...
Your mum must have been, so you know, she was saying about the Radio 1 thing, she must have been gassed about this then.
Yeah, she was.
This was when she was like, okay, I get it now.
She was, yeah. And like, so like it was epic on many levels, and like, and I hadn't even see it. Was, obviously, there was so much planning. Like, I think we decided like a year in advance we were definitely going to do it. We launched. Getting the lineup together was quite difficult because we were just like, do we need to like book someone mental, like
special
big
guests
for someone, or do we just need to trust ourselves? And like Alex pulled off a great, like the lineup was fucking great. Obviously showcased the artists, like new and forthcoming ones, and yeah, we sold out a couple of weeks beforehand, which was a struggle actually, because it's such an epic venue, we announced it so far in advance, but then I think we announced it in like July, and then had an amazing initial response, and like sold like 1,000 tickets in like literally like the first couple of days, which, considering it was like 7 months away, was mental.
Yeah.
But then come like November, obviously everyone's not thinking about what they're doing in January, and they're skinned. And then so there was like this moment like end of November where we were so close to selling out, but then we had to wait until after Christmas because it was like you say, it's so difficult to sell tickets over that time. But then we sold out in advance, and it was amazing. And on the day, Alex obviously flew over from New Zealand 2 days before and had a gig in the Netherlands the night before. So I had to go in and do the sound check.
What did you play?
We played some Shade stuff, actually. We played loads of stuff off the label. Because, like, obviously, that's what I know. And there's so many variations in BPMs on 1985. I was really nervous because dance music and bass music isn't really done in that venue that much. Yeah. But like they kept reassuring me and Alex, and like Alex got his friend who's a sound technician to come with me as well. So I had a second pair of ears. I was shitting myself. I was just like, it's going to look amazing. Yeah. We got all the production in, and it was just like, it needs to sound great. And they kept reassuring me it was going to be fine. And my boyfriend works as a production manager, so I sent him the spec, and I'm like, I don't know what this means. And he's like, no, it looks good. It looks good. Yeah, and I was like, right, okay. So then turned up on the day, and I was so nervous. And then we did the sound check, and like obviously in the Roundhouse they have loads of epic shows where they use like confetti cannons and stuff all the time. Not that we had any of that.
I was gonna say that doesn't feel very on brand.
No, it's very not on brand. But like when we were sound checking, all the confetti that had been stuck in the roof from
was like
previous ones, and I was stood there on an empty Roundhouse in the middle of the day doing a sound check, and all this confetti was falling off the ceiling. It was just like this really like romantic, beautiful moment. And like, no, but it was amazing. And then And then Alex turned up with his mum, and I hadn't seen him for 6 months either, because obviously he lives in New
Big
Zealand.
up Alex's mum as well. She's a legend.
Yeah,
man.
she's a
She's
legend.
a proper legend.
She is a legend.
Now I went for dinner with Alex and Stu after the show had happened, just as a catch up and kind of a little celebratory thing. And both of them were so gassed about how good it sounded.
It sounded amazing.
I guess because they were saying, for the sound guys that work there as well, it's quite a bit of a treat for them, right? Because they're normally like setting up for like bands and like rappers or whatever.
Yeah.
So to have like a thing that can proper test the system, it must be like
yeah.
a bit of a fun one. Yeah.
I was chatting to the sound techs there, the in-house ones, and like they're all drum bass heads. So they
sick.
like, oh my god!
Why is every sound guy a drum and bass guy? I swear, like in it, like every time they're always
Like
like
the techiest sound, isn't it? It's like, that's how it runs.
Every time.
I swear, and like later on when the event was on, and like I had friends there, but like people were coming over and speaking to me, and I was just like not listening.
Yeah.
I was like just looking around the venue, like people got, Amy, this is amazing. And I was like, yeah, no. And like I was just stood there on the balcony, and like at one point it didn't even feel like I was at like an event that was ours. Like I felt like I was at somebody else's show because it was so good. It was so epic, and it is a day that I'm never ever gonna forget. Like,
Amazing.
It was
That's incredible to hear, because having like been a promoter at various different points throughout my career, I have never been able to like fully enjoy a moment or event like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of promoters, that'll be like almost like you're speaking like a Graceland, hopefully into existence for them.
Yeah, it was down. There was an amazing on-site team again by Divide and the Blast Lot, and like everything, well, mostly everything, was a well-oiled machine on the day, which allowed me to just sit on the balcony and be like, fucking hell, this is actually happening.
Obviously the ticket thing helps. I guess like the thing I was taking from what you said, I know you had to wait till after Christmas and stuff, and it was probably you got a bit of worry in that, but the fact you managed to sell out in like a modern day like live drum and bass event industry, even selling out is amazing. It's like the amount of people I talk to that are still waiting on that like last week or like last days for tickets just to like get their break even and stuff. Like I guess it'd be important at this point to highlight to anyone who is buying tickets for live events, the earlier you can buy them tickets,
the more
you're going to literally make promoters like just able to function more effectively and just make their lives just a lot easier in what is an incredibly difficult market right now. Like I feel like it's important to highlight that,
especially the smaller shows.
Smaller
shows.
On the flip side as well, I'd say one thing I've always said about 1985 is it is kind of like a bit of like a lighthouse for the underground right now in drum and bass.
Yeah,
that
100.
The fact that the shows are so big, and when you look at like all the big shows in London, it's always Worried About Henry, it's always D&B All Stars. Obviously Hospital do amazing festivals and stuff, but that's booking multiple labels and multiple like you said with the whole special guest thing. It's really amazing that a label that's not been around that long in terms of the timeline of drum and bass and dance music is able to do this with such a headsy sound, because it is ultimately not 1985 isn't daytime radio music, right? It's not.
It's
you
not.
really have to love that style of music to really be like to go to those events. So there is it's always like that's what I describe it as like the lighthouse. It gives a bit of hope for the scene, because we do moan quite a lot about, not moan, but like the reality is that the more commercialized, we definitely moan. The more commercialized sound drum bass is obviously the dominant sound for obvious reasons. It's more wide appealing, whatever. So for us, those sorts of events feel a little bit out of reach sometimes. Not if you're Pony Bryson.
I mean,
not if you're Pony Bryson.
You
can't jump on this as well, man. Allow it. I'll get it from John enough.
I've worked with you long enough. I can take the piss out of you.
Man. Honestly, what you said, like, so on point. It's like for a label to have that much integrity, which obviously a testament to Alex and yourself, and to be able to like smash it in like an industry at the moment that is not really favouring like that sound for like mass market. Even like small pockets of it, like anyone who's in that is struggling right now, like gigs, all sorts. It's all pretty difficult, but actually that you're the anomaly.
It was funny, me, Stu and Alex were having a pint afterwards, and like Stu SPMC was like, it's funny, isn't it? Because like you walk into venues like that and you feel like our type shouldn't be here. And I was like, yeah, but we are, mate, and we've smashed it. He was like, yeah, I know, but
sold
like,
out, yeah.
it makes you feel even better that like you
Yeah.
you kind of feel like us lot. Our type shouldn't be here.
Our little ragtag bunch and like
Yeah.
our little weird
He's
bit of
always
music,
got
whatever.
some gold, man.
Yeah.
He spits
Yeah.
absolute
Shout out to
gold.
you,
But that kind of is it, then. That again, that's testament to what like, you and Alex have done at 185 and the music itself. The fact that because obviously the venue can say no, right? The venue could have been like, no, we don't want to do this event, right? But the fact they were like, nah, yeah, let's do it.
We were the first show they did in January, and I went up there and they had a big poster with our name on outside.
Yeah,
I was
like, that's-
I sent it to Alex. He was like, "Fuck."
Yeah, it's incredible, man.
Yeah, and we're and like the shows internationally, not just London. We're like kicking off this year. Obviously, doing main stage at Hospitality on the Beach this year, and,
Nice.
and a boat party. Which
Are you gonna be out there?
hopefully, yeah.
See you there.
And then the week after that, we've got a day party at the Cause. And then the
Which
week after,
I'm also playing that
which
too.
you are also playing.
I'm just pseudo not 185 artist.
Yeah, and then the week after that,
I think I'm playing that one as
I
well,
think
Bristol,
you are.
yeah.
We've got another day party
Yeah,
in Bristol.
big up
And then
one-
the week after that, we are doing a show in France, which hasn't been announced yet, and it's not Toulouse. I'm going to say that because everyone will just assume that it's Toulouse.
Yeah, Le Bikini.
And then the week
whatever.
after that, oh shit, I can't announce anything.
Can't announce them.
But no, we've got...
It's busy.
It is, yeah.
I
And we've
love
got loads
that.
of shows before. We've got a nice Brighton one coming up, the Vaults.
Nice.
Yeah, nice local.
Love that venue.
Yeah, epic. So I can roll home after that one.
Yeah, that's perfect for you, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
No, that's like I said, just hopefully, keep going straight for strength. Basically, I'm sure it will. Like
Yeah, well,
the
it's all
following
down
at
to
185, I describe it as cultish. It's
Yeah,
like it honestly like you will never see a higher proportion of merch of a label being worn at a label night than a night like a
Yeah,
185.
The merch
And
is
it's a
mad.
credit
The
to Alex.
merch is sick.
It's sick
Yeah,
merch,
and
though,
it's Alex. Alex, like he designs all the merch historically, which is obviously slightly more label based, and that obviously the 1985 studio
like
stuff
a
that
brand,
we're doing
isn't it?
now,
Yeah.
which is like more of a fashion brand, which is why that now has its own channel. And like it's just testament to Alex's amazing vision.
That's why I reckon it's so successful because it's not really merch. I think it's almost insulting to kind of call it that because
Yeah.
it is so fashion focused, and he's such a fashion icon of D&B.
Yeah.
That's why
He's the second best dressed guy in drum and bass.
He's
isn't he?
definitely literally. You can't even have that one, mate. You can
can't
sit
have
that. You ain't
Of
even
course,
taking that.
Of course.
But like, I guess the following. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
That's what they're
Yeah.
buying into. They're buying
Literally.
into. They know that the personable touch. The personal touch is there on 1985. Like it's Alex in a nutshell, and it's like because he had a cultish following, it's just expanded now to become this like label, which is just beautiful, man.
And like it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Like, yes, I have been doing this a long time, and I've got knowledge and understanding of how it works, but over the past decade, I have been very blessed to work with such amazing labels and amazing artists. And Alex is, it's a pleasure. And the fact that it's not just drum and bass as well, because then it keeps it a little bit more interesting.
Just
So
want
I'm
to throw
very
this one
lucky.
in as well. Just take it from one of 3 artists in the room who have had you sort of like running thing. Every person who's had like the pleasure of working with you sees that exactly the other way around as well. It's a testament to your hard work,
There's
man.
a reason
Like-
why people were calling you up when you left Shogun or whatever for
Yeah.
advice because you're definitely the go-to.
I like helping people, like I say, I did it for a while before I made a job out of it with the consultancy work. Like I like helping people, and like I hooked up a mix for 2 record labels that I don't even work with recently, because I feel like if they can see that I'm being helpful, then they'll want to help me back in the future.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm pretty sure I pointed like loads of people towards you and I were like, "How did you get verified on Instagram?" I remember this actually. Do you remember?
yeah.
Back
Amy
when you
did
got
it.
some
Amy did it.
verified.
I got-
people were like to us like, "How have you got verified?" I was like,
Yeah,
"Amy."
I got a string of people
Yeah.
verified.
Oh, we need
I
to
don't have
chat
I don't
after
have
this
I don't have access to that anymore.
The plug's
I
gone,
took
that's
the
it.
piss basically.
then. Yeah.
You
Shouldn't
got
have
half the
verified
day.
Galaxy. That's what it was.
2016. Half
I
the
think I
day.
verified you as well.
Yeah, you did,
actually.
yeah.
Verified around the same time, man. Yeah, trust.
Joke.
Trust. That did me like favors in my social circle. Oh my god, you got blue tick. That's
And that was
crazy.
before Pola and Bryson were the Pola and Bryson that we love today.
Look at Jack's face. Yeah.
Whenever these statements are made, I just feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's what we
I know you're just trying to make me feel uncomfortable.
I'm very proud of all the artists I've worked with.
I appreciate that. Okay, so I had a question then. So for all of everything you've learned through all of the various labels and the label heads and the artists that you've worked with, if you could go back now to like 18-year-old you, just before you started working at hospital, let's say, what would you do differently?
Not go to university and spunk up student loan up the wall
for
a degree that I don't have. Maybe.
All views, yeah. Well, you say that though. The photography seemed like it was actually a key part of the journey, though.
It wasn't worth the amount of interest that got put on that.
That's fair.
But where did you go uni?
Cumbria Institute of the Arts in Carlisle. Absolute shit.
CIA.
10 out of 10 would not recommend.
So did you gain anything from being in that space? Because I always look back at my uni and I'm like, I went to Southampton and it's like, if I hadn't met Gera, like one half like guests and stuff, it like certain things wouldn't have materialised.
That's what I'm saying, like, indirectly.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I put on events in Carlisle, but I was going back over to Newcastle because Newcastle was more where it's at, and then eventually left Carlisle because, like I say, it's not a great place to live. No offence to anyone that lives in Carlisle. I was a student. I wanted more. Like for where I was at in my life, that was not the place I needed to be. It's beautiful around there. Anyway, I'm going to stop digging myself a hole now. But then, maybe sped up that process a bit. But like you say, if I hadn't have approached getting into drum and bass and being infatuated and being like quite geeky and like networking, as we say, then maybe Tony wouldn't have seen that in me.
Yeah.
So like
everything happens for a reason,
right?
Like,
butterfly effect, isn't it? Butterfly effect. There you go. We did a tune called Butterfly Effect, didn't we?
That was on Solvent, right?
Yeah, I was about to have to Shazam that. I was going to have to ask. I was going to Google it.
Gonna have to Shazam that. Yes.
I honestly have to Shazam tunes that I put out all the time. Well, I don't have to. I'll just go, oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
It's like Pete. I miss working with Pete from Shogun.
Oh, he was like an encyclopedia, isn't he?
Yeah, and like, because obviously right now I live and work in the same space, and Alex is in New Zealand, so like Badger, like shout out Badger, Critical, like he lives down in Brighton as well, like he's my best friend, like whenever if I need to take the piss out of someone in drum and bass, he's the first person. him and Jack's like, have you seen this?
we definitely need to get him on at some point.
Badger. I want to get Kaz around Badger. That'd be cool.
He got shouted out on the last one as well.
True.
But like working in an office with Pete, like Pete would sit next to me and like I'd be like, this tune's a banger. He's like, hey, we put it out 6 months ago. and like you say, he is like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
So like, and like, you know, like I do miss working in an office. You know, when like you like second guess yourself, but it's not enough to like Google it because you do know the answer. So, you know, I just sit there and I do that, and then Pete would just say the answer. Yeah, I miss that.
Also, something just to bounce off like instantly and catch a vibe with. I get that from like.
And let's be honest, the drum and bass scene is hilarious. There is
why do you think we started a podcast?
There is always some absolute nonsense going on, and I'm here for it.
Just a reminder,
£10
£10 a month on our Patreon, you can get the inside scoop.
You man are on it with this plug. It's not. We're not doing
doesn't
this
even
here.
exist.
Am I being interviewed for that one as well?
Well,
The things I could say.
that's what I'm saying.
We'd have to offer a commission for that.
Yeah.
Sure.
We need
like-
to actually launch this tier.
I'm quite good at negotiating.
Yeah,
we'll get cancelled if we launch that too.
no, but that's why it's on Patreon, because you can't get cancelled.
Yeah, you can't get cancelled
sure
if you're
you can.
monetising it behind a private paywall.
You can't.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Yeah. It won't last long. We'll get chased out of town. Yeah. Okay, just to kind of like finish up, I just want to get a few gems from you, because I feel like you said, you've walked us through your amazing career so far, and I feel like you've got. Well, you teach students at BIM, is that right?
Yeah, so
what is that? Yeah, what is that specifically?
So I do one-on-one mentoring. I do like little masterclasses on different subjects, and also at the moment, BIM has its own record label. called Pool Valley, and it's all the students from the university release on the label, and they get all the students get 100% of the profit. Like the label doesn't keep any. It's a great like community-led label.
Yeah, sick.
So at the moment, I'm working with a group of 20 odd students, and we're building an electronic arm of the label. So I do that as well, and then
amazing.
A bit of mentoring, and like I love it because if. Like we talked about when I was younger, but like I wish I had access to that.
Yeah.
Like it would have, I don't know, sped up the process maybe.
The journey's sometimes the most beautiful part of it, though. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. You cut some of it out.
Did you read that from a T-shirt in Primark?
No. I've been hanging out with him too much. That's a Visionobi bar.
Nah, you can't pawn that off on me, bro.
Amy just straight up baited the fact that you were shopping in Primark earlier on. You turn up with your Primark bag. We saw.
That was Doc Martens.
There was a Primark bag here.
Why is he lying?
He's quoting the Primark t-shirts again.
It's literally Doc Martens.
I was bare late,
It's 100% Doc Martens. He's don't believe him. He's trying to lying for views. He's lying for views. Horrible.
Sorry, Pola and Bryson don't shop in Primark with their royalties.
That's what I'm saying. Phone line with that phone line money. They're definitely not shopping in Primark. Yeah.
They don't stock for people as big as me.
Ah, there he is. Okay. Anyway, so the question was going to be, what advice would you have for new music makers? I guess new music makers entering the scene in 2024 and like, thinking about their online presence and all that, but also people that want to get into the industry in this day and age. Having been through the journey you've been through, if you could just drop, I don't know, what would you have to say to those people?
Well, so with new producers, like their approach to their presence online specifically, or
I guess because like when we were saying before, like when we got into the game, that was not even a consideration, but now it has to be a consideration up front, right?
Yeah, well, yes and no.
You can make it more general if you want, just like any advice like you give.
Being genuine and authentic, like first and foremost, and making sure the music is great, like that's it. And then once you get the music in the right place, you can generally work with people that can build all that around you. Like making music, you've either got it and you can like make that perfect sound. You can't teach that, but you can teach someone digital marketing. So like, I'm
really happy you said put the music first.
The music
because it gets lost. It does get lost.
It does get lost. But like first and foremost, the music has to be great, and then the other things can be taught. Yeah, and like you can find someone like me to work with, like that can find learning about that person and find ways of building a digital presence if they want one, or in some shape or form, like we were saying, all the different kind of contents to fit the different personalities. So all that can be taught. Just like don't be a cunt, be a nice person and make good music. And then similarly, if you're wanting to break into the industry kind of like behind the scenes, is just being nice to people. Networking is so beneficial, like going out there, being nice to people, meeting people, and just being a sponge like I was. Just like meet as many people as you can and learn as much as you can about our world, because it's always changing as well. Like what I learned when I first started working at hospital in 2012 is kind of went out the window a few years later. So like the approach to things changes, so you have to keep networking and keep yourself immersed in the world to keep up to date with anything. Because what use am I going to be if all my ways are outdated when I'm supposed to be handing that information on to an artist? So like there's loads of great like websites you can sign up to. Complete Music, like I like have the little newsletter, so in between doing your emails during the day you can keep up to date with what's going on in the wider world, whether that's like tech based or artist based or like promoter based, like so just have an understanding of what the climate is doing. Always do that. It's very important. Be informed.
I knew you'd have these gems, man, ready to go. Okay, but we always have a section called Shameless Plug, but actually I feel like you're giving us the whole 1985 or 1985 summer schedule already, so...
Not really.
I didn't really...
I haven't touched the side.
Okay. Releases coming up, obviously we said Visage's EPs dropping. Am I saying it right?
Visage.
Visage.
So they
Visage.
don't pronounce the F.
Visage. We had this one before,
We
didn't
did have the debate
And the
before,
thing is,
yeah.
I chat to Valentine sometimes as well. I still don't know how to say it. So.
Valentine.
I can't even say his name right.
Valentine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
so
French
yeah, their
listeners.
EP comes out in full on the 5th of April. Just dropped a track with Snowy from Nottingham called Evidently on Friday, which is
That
an
Snowy
absolute
guy,
banger.
man. He's done some. There was another one on the
yeah.
drone.
Yes, on the drone.
Banger.
album.
Yeah.
All I Know. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I'm just trying to style it out like I didn't for a second. This isn't because I don't love the music. It's because there's so much of it.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, we've got like I don't want to. You know how I hate it when releases get announced by other people.
Oh yeah, we know. We definitely know.
Because
that,
I've shouted at you like, guys, that wasn't the plan.
Yeah.
This is when the announcement is. The amount of times
Many a
I've had
time.
to shout at these
Many
people
a time. Yeah.
that. But like, we've got a brand new. So obviously, like, we always do different VA albums every year. We completed Atlas Part 3. We always do them in 3 parts. So we've got a new VA coming at the end of the year. Got a new Sesco EP. Got Drone. Got Paige Julia. Got some interesting producers from LA. Trail's back with new music.
Nice.
Monty's got new music. Visage's got loads of music.
Yeah, they're busy.
Alex
man.
has got something big coming out this year, which frightens the life out of me. But it's a beautiful piece of work. It's like the old school Alex.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I think you've got it.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
But yeah, that Elastic Soul tune that everybody's been begging for will see a release this year, which I've absolutely love. But yeah, loads of music, and like I've already like nearly added all the tunes to distribution already. Everything's contracted for this year. We've got masters for next year already. And what is it, March?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that's what I love about working with Alex. No fucking about.
Let's just get it done. Yeah.
No fucking about. Just get it done. Like, I hate it when we have to rely on other people to move forward. Just work at the same pace we fucking do. But no, lots to come.
Nice. Okay, let's I want to do like one. We have like a little standard like quick fire round. I want to do just like one or two, just to kind of round it off nicely.
Yep.
Do you remember what your first vinyl was?
I do, because I was talking about this yesterday actually, because they featured on David Rodigan's show on One Extra. Lucci Lou and Mishy One, Shout Now. They're a reggae duo. Do you remember that tune Suggs did, Cecilia, back in the day? Oh, Cecilia. Do you know the two women in that do like the rapping part, but not quite rapping?
Can't really remember,
Well,
but I know the
that's
tune.
That's them. Okay.
Michelle lived downstairs from me in Chalk Farm, and I grew up with her daughter, and when I moved, she gave me this record, and I used to rinse it. It was scratched to fuck, and I've got a photograph of it, but it wasn't playable. That was my first ever record.
Incredible. And then anyone from any part of any scene, like artist-wise, that you haven't worked with that you'd love to work with?
Ooh, that is a good question. Ooh. Oh God.
Okay, we can narrow it down maybe, because you obviously said you got bang into hip hop. Let's say if you had to pair a rapper with a 985.
But like
producer.
definitely Verb T.
Okay.
And like Flip Tricks as well.
I feel like that's pretty achievable for you. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie. I feel like you could probably do that, right?
I tried to hook you up with Verb T.
He did, yeah.
That nearly happened.
Yeah, I mean, we had some back and forth with him and stuff. I think it was just the schedules just never paired up,
yes,
which is a shame.
it nearly happened. It nearly happened.
Yeah.
I think that was around the album.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
thought.
Sometimes around the second
It
album.
nearly
yeah.
happened a long time ago. Jest, if he was performing like the old Jest.
There he is.
You heard loads of new shit. It's really good, man.
Oh no, I haven't heard it. He went through a weird phase.
That's done. Like, trust. Yeah, last three years, banging. Yeah.
Welcome to
killing it.
the Jest podcast. We're about to start now for the next 3
The
hours.
goat, man. He's the goat. There's no question. He's the goat.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to maybe like work with some garage artists as well.
Okay.
Future garage.
Well, you've got a very, very good one in Chesco on your label.
Yes.
Yeah,
This
man.
guy.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous.
He is,
Man.
and like, there's so much more to come.
Yeah, he's a joke. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is like
And
in
he's
the
such
best.
a nice guy.
He's so nice. I mean, we actually do need to get him on his podcast.
We do.
He's funny as
Yeah,
well.
he's really
sweet, man.
funny, but
Yeah.
he's
Good
such a nice
vibes.
guy. Like, that's one thing I am blessed with. I don't think I've worked with many knobheads.
Yeah,
I think most people I've
less than
worked with-
10.
I think I've worked with, like, there's been some people that I've wanted to strangle quite a lot. But like mostly most of the artists I've worked with have been an absolute pleasure.
£10 a month. Find out. Literally. He wants to strangle.
Patron. I got you.
No, this has honestly been one of my favourite podcasts we've done.
Man.
Yeah, you've been an incredible guest. And honestly, there's so much we didn't talk about. So there's going to be a part 2, unfortunately.
If you sign up to Patreon,
If you sign up to Patreon, you can get access to that earlier. No, but generally, yeah, I'm looking at my notes. There's like so much we didn't talk about. But yeah, I'm
it's
really
been an honour to be your first industry wanker
industry
on the show.
ranker, we can say it now. So yeah, thank you so much for coming down. And like I said, we'll definitely do this again because yeah, I've really enjoyed that. And yeah,
Thank you very
thanks
much.
everyone.
Thank
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.